I'd like to invite here in the studio Steve Samson. You're the Trade Development Manager of the Kent County Council in the UK.
That's right.
Steve, welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
you wanted
Glad
to come
to be
here.
here.
Um, could you, in like a very brief 2 sentences, explain what your project, which is called the SME, Small Medium Enterprise Internationalization Exchange, is all
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. Well, hopefully the project does what it says on the tin. So it's really about seven regions from across Europe working together to look at how best we can encourage our SMEs from our regions to actually take advantage of opportunities in international markets and to do more business in different countries. So it's really a reflection on how we do that in our regions, what we can learn from each other, and how that can ultimately benefit our businesses through changing policies.
Exactly, and that naturally fits in your job description, right?
Absolutely.
If you're a trade development manager.
That's right, yeah.
Now take us back to that moment when you're sitting in your office thinking about how you can improve the trade, and then you think, you know what? I'm looking for interregional cooperation. I'm going to apply for this program.
Okay, well,
when was this?
Well, I've been working on the area of trade development for quite a few years now, and it's a difficult area, particularly in my own region in Kent in the UK. We have low export levels with our businesses, but I know Interreg quite well. I used to be involved in the cross-border program between the UK and France, and I was just basically looking for. Well, I was reading the information about the Interreg Europe program, and I just saw that there was a whole priority related to SME support and SME competitiveness. And as I read the program document, I thought, well, that fits exactly with what I really want to do in Kent, and there's a real opportunity there to.
But were you already thinking about international cooperation, or did you add that to your own ambitions when you saw that?
Well, the thing about this theme in particular, internationalization of SMEs, requires international cooperation.
Yeah, so that came natural.
So absolutely, for our companies, it's about making contacts in different markets, and as people that run programs and projects to help companies get into new markets, we need that international cooperation. So it was a real natural fit, I think, from the beginning.
All right, but to apply to an Interreg Europe project, or to become an Interreg project partly funded by Interreg, you need partners.
You do,
so
absolutely,
what do you do?
Absolutely. Well, I started to make a few connections through some of my contacts.
And just quickly, for our viewers who are new, we'll learn about that on stage. But how many partners, or what kind of partners do you need? I think it's
right.
6 or 8.
Well, I think the optimum number I was told, and I'll perhaps come on to this later, but said the advice from the JS was to keep your partnership to between about 5 and 10 partners, because that way it's manageable. I actually had expressions of interest from about 27, so it was a really difficult task for me to actually choose those partners that were going to be.
When you say expressions of interest,
yeah,
they just emailed you, or how did they find out about
So there were two things. One, I used some existing contacts in different countries to see if they knew of organisations that might be interested in joining a project.
Yep.
And then I attended the launch event for Interreg Europe in Bologna back in 2014, and met a few people there. And then basically from there I gathered the contacts and asked people to send me more information about why they would like to be involved, what strengths could they bring to the partnership, and in particular it was around looking for regions that shared some characteristics with Kent. So in terms of size, in terms of some of the priority economic sectors.
Or was that all part of the best practices?
That was my own thought. So I had some interest from some large capital cities in Europe, but I thought, well, that's not really a good match for my region. The challenges are slightly different. The number of SMEs they have in their areas are different. So we really tried to kind of look at the expressions of interest and choose those that really were suited to the partnership.
Yeah, and then you guys had to come up with a project application.
That's right.
Which
absolutely.
we will learn is quite an.
It's quite
a project.
It's quite
the application in itself.
Yeah, but don't be afraid. There's a lot of advice and support out there, and I'd say that to any applicants. If you're thinking about Interreg Europe, have a look at the program manual, get in contact with the Joint Secretariat, attend an event like the one today, because there's a lot of useful information that can help you in making that application. Of course, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of contact needed between the partners. You need to think about your idea and your concept and how that's going to fit in with the program's priorities, because essentially it's not about looking for
Yeah.
not about just the financing. It's really about matching the opportunity that's there
Exactly.
provided by Interreg and how that can benefit each of the regions
So,
in a
so
project.
what was the core of your idea, together with your partners?
So really, I mean, I know from my own work that we've struggled with how we can best support companies in our region with internationalisation. So we were looking at kind of. We thought, well, there must be some other regions in Europe doing this well. There must be other regions doing things that we don't know about, or we haven't tried, or we haven't had the finances for. So it would be really useful and really interesting to see how companies are supported in other regions and how their policies, how their policies enable projects to happen, initiatives to happen that can help companies. So I thought that whole idea of just combining knowledge, looking at what else is being done, could really add value to my own region.
In your application what you're going to do with these partners? Because
Absolutely.
this defines very well
Of
what kind of
course,
partners
yeah,
you're looking
of
for.
course.
What are you guys going to do?
So first of all, we're going to carry out some joint research. We're going to look for our projects very particular to SME support. So we're going to look at what those barriers are that SMEs face in each of our regions, and pick out some common threads. Are there issues that SMEs face across Europe?
So
and
it's
how
a
we can help?
it's a research program.
Absolutely. So it starts with some research, and then we're going to look at the results of that research, and we're going to look at what's happening in each region. So we've got a number of study visits planned where the partners and their stakeholders will travel around to the different regions to see the policies being implemented in reality, and looking at different ways of supporting companies. So it might be sector-specific support, it might be microfinancing schemes, and we really want to see how that works, and then how from that learning experience from those study visits we can then take that learning and apply it to our own regions.
And you create some kind of policy best practices list?
Absolutely.
Or
so we're going to come up with, I think the idea, we know from initial, from early conversations with the partners that they're doing some really great initiatives, and so we're really going to try and draw out the best practice and see how that can be kind of lifted up from one region and placed into another for the benefit of companies. So.
Hey, and obviously in this cooperation, one of the partners needs to be the lead. How
Yeah.
did you guys pick that one?
Well, I kind of volunteered. I don't know if that was a good idea or not really.
No, is it
I think
costing you a lot of extra time? Or?
There will be a lot of, there's a lot of resource involved. I've led previous cross-border Interreg programs, projects before, and I know what I'm getting myself into. But I think with a good partnership and with planning and
because how does that work at your county? Is this on top of your daily job, or is this part of your daily job?
Yeah, well, for me, it's really complementary to my daily job. So it really enables me to look at my day-to-day job, which is about helping companies and finding new ways to support them. And this really just adds some value. So it will be extra work, of course, but it's a real opportunity to increase what we're doing and to really bring some new ideas and new initiatives into our region.
Exactly. Well, let me just interrupt you briefly. If you just joined us, on the right side of your screen there's a question box, and if you're listening to Steve Samson here from the Kent County Council, who is actually experienced and got his project approved, this is your time to type in your questions, or if you don't have a question yourself, to vote up a question of someone else, because Steve is with us for another 3-4 minutes, and I can actually ask your question on your behalf directly to Steve. Or if your friends are, oh, we have one, Raluca, please jump in, talk into a microphone. Yes.
Yes, there is a question for Steve coming from our online participants. How long did it take for you to prepare the project?
How long did it take to
prepare the
project
Yeah, so the whole project application phase, how much time?
From the initial idea, it was probably about 9 months, I think, from the initial idea to actually getting the application submitted. It took probably about, I think it was about 5 to 6 weeks of actual time really spent with partner teleconferences and with actually writing the application form.
Exactly. So did you guys meet physically, virtually?
We met. Some of us met at the launch event in Bologna, but we actually
kind
met
of the core team.
Yeah, that's right. But we really tended to meet virtually just for practical reasons. But we had several teleconferences and daily email exchanges to make sure that we were all in agreement with the content of the application.
And that was all focused on that application form.
That's right. So
and
really,
then
really.
Fingers crossed, or after that, or did you guys get started? Because I can also imagine that you create so much energy that at some point you don't even care if you get these funds.
That's right.
Well,
I think the timing was, the submission deadline was just before the summer, so it was July. So I think a lot of us just went on and took some holiday then and breathed a sigh of relief. But we've of course been in contact in the meantime, and I think one of the added benefits really is that we're able to formalise a network of organisations where we can use really use that for the benefit of our companies anyway. So of course there's the Interreg cooperation, but we're hoping that there'll be wider ongoing cooperation between our organisations.
All right. Well, thank you, online viewers, and thank you, Raluca. Keep them coming, and throughout the afternoon, if you see something, you have a question, you have a comment, you have a thought, please share it with us either in the question box or through hashtag Europe Cooperates. Well, Steve, I'm wondering, now that you're on the other end, and I think you guys just learned that you're an approver.
Yeah, we
only
found
few
out
months
about
ago.
a month ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, about a month ago. So it's
So this makes you now a successful, experienced Interreg applicant. What are some of the tips that you can now say were successful?
Okay.
If you would have to do this again,
Yeah.
what would you do differently?
Well, definitely, as I said earlier, just listen to all, listen to the advice that's out there. Really take the time to look through the program manual, to liaise with the JS, and I know they provided some really valuable feedback on a draft concept that I
When you see
submitted.
JS, it's the General Secretary.
Yeah, Joint
exactly.
Secretary. They're there to help. They want good quality projects to come through for the Interreg Europe program. So really take advantage of that, and I think just careful planning as well, because we know
So
when the
one is
application
read
deadline
the
is.
manual.
Read the
That's what they
manual,
all say.
take advice, and get all the advice and support that you can, and planning really. I think people know when the application deadline is, and it's very tempting to leave everything to the last minute. But I think careful planning, careful work with the partners, in particular, setting deadlines within the partnership,
clear
so
deadlines and follow up on
information can be with the lead partner by a certain date. That really helps to ensure a smooth process.
I see another question from Raluca. Raluca, speak up loud because you're
Yes,
talking to a microphone, but we
sorry.
can barely hear you.
There are several questions coming up for you, Steve, from our online audience. But one of them is, how did you identify the relevant policy instruments to address by your project?
Okay, so
Okay, so the question is, but I'm not sure if you can answer that already, because they're wondering, how are you going to identify what the relevant policy is? Because you said, I'm going to do research, then we're going to compile that, but obviously you need to determine what you're going to research on.
Of course. Well, this is all underpinned by relevant policies, and the program manual on the program is very clear that essentially the main policies that this program wants to address are structural funds programs. So really that was what we're looking at.
And that is kind of a guideline, what policies to include and what
Absolutely.
not.
So within my own region, we have an ERDF program, and part of that is SME internationalisation, and within the other partner regions, indeed as well. That was one of the key common threads for that links the whole project together and the whole partnership. So I think look at the guidance, because that gives clear indication.
To make it a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
Can you think of an example of a policy that you might wanted to have included, but you say, well, that's not going to work because that kind of brings it to life?
Yeah. Well, we've got our own policies really. So as a council, we set the strategy for our own area. So in a way, we were quite lucky that we were able to we know we can influence the policies that we develop ourselves, and we can influence as well those policies that govern the ERDF program. So I think it's being careful as well, because there's a whole range of policies that a project like ours can potentially input into. But
you need to select.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be select. You need to look at those policies where there's going to be a real opportunity to actually make a difference. So the structural fund programs in each member state, in particular, run in parallel with the Interreg Europe program. So early engagement with the people that run those policies is really important.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
And it seems that you've awakened, I'm not sure, it seems that you've awakened our online audience, but she's saying no. But this is how this works this afternoon. Great job for you guys. Thank you for submitting your questions. As you can see, the room is starting to fill up. I just got a cue that we have about 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to close off with Steve. Steve, thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
And sharing all your tips with our online
No problem.
viewers.
Okay, thank you.